So with that, we're now going to move on to a conversation that is not just timely, but very relevant. And it's especially because we're going to take a closer look at the future of the Indian workforce. This session is titled Degrees versus Skills. Are we preparing students for the real world? So basically, the fact of the matter is, as industries evolve rapidly, the question, ladies and gentlemen, you'll agree, is no longer just about academic qualifications alone. It's about adaptability, it's about practical skills, and real-world readiness. So to share his insights on this critical topic, it's my honor and pleasure to please invite on stage HR MahadevSwamy, Vice Chancellor, JSS University, Noida. Sir, if you could kindly please do join us on stage. And this topic is of extreme personal relevance to me, so I feel particularly kicked and privileged to be taking it on. And with that, we'll make our way to center stage. All right, Mr. MahadevSwamy. At JSS University, or at universities across the country, all right? We're seeing the implementation of research labs left, right, and center. However, I think the concern in the minds of many is perhaps, is that research largely rhetoric, largely academic, and is it real-world ready? Is it even real-world relevant? If a gap exists and you admit to that gap, how do we begin to bridge it, sir? Is research as deep-rooted and relevant as it needs to be in the academic setting?
Basically, so there's just to, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good evening. So relevant question. So basically, when you take a topic, degree versus skills, yeah, both are relevant. So both are required. So degree, if you look at all of us sitting here will agree with us, agree with that a degree is essential because this is a foundation. When we get a degree, it brings the thinking, discipline to the person. But when you go to the industry requires the employability skills. So skills are required. So that means the universities today, what we require is to integrate the skills, what skills required by the industry into the degree. So this is basically what are required here. So as a JSS university, which is located in Noida, we are a multidisciplinary university with the industry-oriented curriculum, where we have 30% is the basics which we cover, and 70% of the curriculum is focuses on the industry-oriented skills, or it could be the internship, it could be practical, it could be skills what are required, so soft skills, technology skills, all those things. So maybe about 70% is, so that is one thing. Second thing is basically how do you do that? So that means if you look at the other universities, may ask a question. So where are we lacking that?
Right.
So where are we lacking? Suppose if we just are lacking, we are lacking in the execution, not in the policy, not in the, because Government of India, either a UGC or AICTE or Pharmacy Council of India, they are well defined the curriculum, the similar what we require by the industry. But execution is where the universities are failing. Means execution, when I say execution, say whenever they do the examination. So we do examination only for 60 marks. So out of 100, only 40 marks will be the assessment for the skills assessment. So this will be done by the industry people. So we have basically in the JSS, it's a very big organization. We have more than 350 institutions where we have 1 lakh students study every year. So with the 30,000 staff located across India, across world, we have a Mauritius, we have in the Mysore, we have in the North India, we have in the US, everywhere we have a institution. So what we are doing is trying to do is basically integrate what industry required in the curriculum itself.
All right. Yeah. Well, Mr. MahadevSwamy, I completely share your sentiment in that I believe the effort is an earnest effort. And you're seeing multiple universities do everything under the sun, from institute incubators on campus to mushrooming research labs all over campus to essentially signing MOUs. They're doing everything in their capacity to advance research and build that real-world readiness amongst their relevant student body. But tell me where you believe these institutions are going wrong. So you said the missing piece of the puzzle is execution. In tangible terms, where are they lacking? What specifically leads them to miss the mark in an execution context?
Yeah, so Jerry, very good, valid question and very good question. Basically, the most of the university, for example, take our own university, JSS University, we have a research labs. So research, basically, one is the applied research and the fundamental research, that is separately which are run. So second is we have the MOU signed with the companies where we establish the Center of Excellence or Center for Learning, where the industry relevant the use cases or the problem statement will be taken by the university and the students and faculty together. They run that particular, solve the problem, either maybe a research, it could be a solution, or it could be innovation. So this is one. Just to add to that, so how are you doing it? Now in the university, in the top board to any other the board, we have all the industry people. So for example, in the governing body of our university, we have a topmost industry people. So chairman of the Bharat Forge Limited Pune, Baba Kalyaniji is in the board. Dr. Sudhamurthy is in the board. Dr. A.S. Kiran, so all industry people. That means we track what research is required. Interdisciplinary research or multidisciplinary research, students are involved. So basically we have student clubs, the innovation centers which they run in Institute Innovation Council, where they are given the industry problems. The professor is sitting here. So we are partnered with the Bharat Forge Limited. We are setting up the AI, Innovation Center for Manufacturing. So where they give the use cases of the problem which the students and the faculty will solve. They deploy in the companies which they are working.
Very heartening to hear that, sir. And as we take a closer look at JSS, I think the institution really prides itself on outcome-based learning models. All right, but I'd love your take on what that means in tangible terms. How is it something you measure? What are the parameters that matter in that context?
Yeah. So there are 3-4 things which is measurable. Basically, number one is the students which are employable. How many students we can able to place in the core companies or the good companies? Maybe we take either a salary or the core companies. So that is the number one. So which is fairly doing very well. Maybe more than about 70% of the students get placed in the core companies or the salary about 10 lakhs, something like that. So second aspect is the research publication in the very quality journals, number one. Number two. Number three is how many we file the patents, which is a patent, which we file the patent, we get it granted. So how many are commercializable? So now when you come to commercializable, so we have an incubation center in the university where the patented technology or the research outcome becomes an idea for that startups in the campus. We have close to around 55 startup companies in the campus in the Noida. Mysore, we have another 120. Bangalore, we have another 100 plus startups in the campus. That means the measurable items are the patents, the placement of the student, and the publications. So then how much is the commercializable ideas? How much money generated by selling the patent? So maybe right now, let me be honest in that, so very few patents are sold. Maybe 1 or 2. We are just maybe small amount which is generated. Maybe we have a optimistic that maybe next 1 or 2 years we reach that level.
Yes, everything starts with a small step. I agreed. And so, look, all improvements in technology and infrastructure and curriculum and pedagogy aside, are we facing a bigger cultural problem perhaps within the context of our education ecosystem, wherein the institutions or society itself is training the next generation to be job seekers rather than job creators that are focused on real world problems that frankly require solving that's long overdue?
Yeah, so maybe just taking a question, so instead of job seekers, job creators. We are, this JSS University, earlier it was a college, we are here for last, the 1998. Just let me give you a figure. So we are almost 221 companies are, the incubated, graduated. That means the generation of close to around 10,000 jobs are generated only by one incubation center,
Right.
which is in Noida. Maybe I don't remember exactly, about 400 to 500 crores is the amount raised by the startups, by the investors for their capital what required by the thing. And similarly in Mysore, which is a very 45 years old incubation center, more than about 700 companies are incubated, and more than 350 or 375 companies are graduated, means they're in a revenue stream. So more than about 10,000 jobs are generated. So this is basically job generated by each of the companies in the incubation center. All put together, we have a 5 incubation center in the India. So which maybe now today, if you look at today's average, maybe we generate close to 1,000 plus jobs in every year.
So it's very heartening to hear. And I want to touch on one other reality, amongst the Indian cultural fabric, which is even middle class families, and of course, upper middle class to more privileged families. They kind of nurture this aspiration of sending their children abroad for higher studies. Okay, the brain drain in this country is very real, sir. All right. So if we were to even attempt to reverse the brain drain, the brain drain, sir, as
right.
in the losing top talent to our foreign counterparts, rather than them choosing to study and build a career here on home turf. Right? So my question is, sir, if we were to reverse that trend and make India the leading global education hub, much like people perhaps view the United States or even the United Kingdom for that matter, what's required to change in your view at a micro level, at a macro level, and how long will it take?
Yeah, maybe that morning somebody asked a question, similar question to someone, some panelist or something. But the people going to US or other country, maybe I think people are also agree with me here. Maybe from the top IITs or top NITs, people will go. The one who maybe most of the companies in India who are working here are from the Tier 2, Tier 3 colleges. Maybe today ISRO, they launched many Chandrayaan is done by the average students. Maybe basically students from the Tier 2 or Tier 3 colleges, maybe degree
Right.
colleges, engineering colleges, something like that. But say, if my experience in the JSS, in past, yes, when I studied, maybe 80s, 90s different. But 2010 onwards, the people who are going to US or other countries for higher studies and settling there, maybe percentage of that is less in these universities, at least especially JSS. Because most of the students who study in Noida campus, either they prefer to stay close to their house. They don't want to go outside, number one. Number two, maybe 2 to 3% of the students they opt for the public service jobs, maybe UPSC or railways or the other jobs which they prefer. Maybe very few, maybe 0.5 to 1% of the students will go abroad in our case. Yeah.
Well, sir, I think, thank you for sharing that math with us, because I think one of the leading, perhaps, criticisms or common perceptions or wrong perceptions is that while we're churning out graduates in this country, that they are simply not employable, all right? That is a leading criticism we hear about the Indian education system time and time again, or the privatization of the Indian education system, and there being such a disparity between public versus private institutions, and it becomes essentially another battle of the haves and the have-nots. Right? When you hear this criticism, in spite of all of your efforts and the career that you've built trying to change those perceptions, how do you respond? What essentially comes to mind?
Yeah, most of maybe in India, maybe the number of students who get admission to the government funded like IIT, NIT or top institutions very less. Percentage is very less. So that means there are only 3 options. One is we get into the IIT, NIT,
Right.
which is very difficult. Maybe I'll answer the other part later. Second part is the going abroad. Maybe that is again expensive, so very less. So other option is the private organizations. So in the private institution, self-funded, self-financing institution, so who are the top institutions? So those top institutions, for example, it could be a JSS or somebody, some XYZ institution, they prefer. So they join. So if you look at the JSS, maybe I just proudly say that because we are rooted in the values, deep rooted in the values. We are about 350,000 years old institution, not just a 1, 2, 3, 1,000 years history. And it's headed by Guruji, the Dr. Ashwarathi Deshikana MahadevSwamy. He is a very spiritual leader, and he makes sure that every student will have the value, follow the values, have the ethics, and also the discipline, integrity, whatever you call. So that is what the JS. So maybe answer to your question, yes, private institution is the source for most of the students, either maybe a school or it could be a university or it could be anything. Maybe that is the top institution who are doing very well, who give the quality education. So they join that.
Well, thank you, Mr. MahadevSwamy. We've completely run out of time, but we wanted to once again say thank you for making the time to speak with us, and we wish you and the larger JSS team all the continued success, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.